Hi there, I hope you are doing great and welcome to the third practice session of Passive Voice. This is part of a series of English videos brought to you by English Windows online learning platform to help second baccalaureate students get ready and well prepared for the English national exam, especially the grammar section. Guys, we have arrived at the case number 3 where we have sentences but with verbs with two objects. If you remember, guys, last time we dealt with the case number 1 about declarative sentences with only one object mostly, and verbs with one object. Then we dealt with the case number 2 about verbs about sentences with modal verbs. And today we'll be dealing with the sentences that contain verbs with two objects. How I'm going to make the transformation from the active voice to the passive voice correct and successful, it's very easy, guys. We just need again to follow the steps that we have again as usual here. The transformation, the 5 transformation steps I'm suggesting. Let me seize this opportunity to remind you again of these steps. Number 1, we got to determine the parts of speech and the SVO, basically the subjects, verb, and then objects. So this case that we're going to have today, the only difference is that we're going to have two verb with two objects. All right, so this is the only difference. Number 2, we got to start our passive statement. The passive voice sentence should be started by the active objects, by the objects in the active form. And then number 3, we need to put the auxiliary to be in the active verb tense. And number 4, we have to put the main verb in the past participle. It should always be in the past participle form. And the last step, which is sometimes optional, right, is to add the byphrase, especially if the agent is clear, obvious, and important. Now let's go ahead, guys, and see how to transform or transfer this active statement that we have here into which contain verbs with two objects. Mostly these are called given verbs, right? Sentences containing a verb which is quite similar, right, or has this meaning of giving, right? How to transform this statement with two objects into the passive voice, especially that our passive sentences are mostly start or begin with the objects. So which objects I'm going to start with? Is it the first one, the second one, or what? And what are some of the changes that may take place? Okay, let's start again with the first statement, guys. Here we have given them a second chance to demonstrate their abilities. We have given them a second chance to demonstrate their abilities. As usual, we start with the first step. We have to determine the parts of speech again. So we got here number 1 is the subjects. The verb combination again have given, right? This is the verb. The main verb here is give, to give, right? And the last element here has to do with the object number 1 have given, who have given them, right? What's a second chance? A second chance here is the object number 2. The object number 1 here, guys, is called the indirect objects. Object number 1, guys, here, them. This is an object pronoun and it is an indirect object. What is indirect object? It's very simply the recipient of the direct object here, second chance. All right, the second object here is called the direct object. All right, upon which the verb is acting on. And the recipient of this direct object is the first object, which is here them, right? Okay, referring to a group of people, to we, right? Particularly here. All right, so we have here again to demonstrate their abilities again, right? This is as you know, right? We just add the parts of the sentence at the end, right? Without any change. Now, so the next step, guys, we have to, after determining the part of speech, we have two choices right now as a second step. We are required normally in the second step to start with the objects, with the active objects. Here we have two active objects here, which means that we have two choices. We can either start with the first, with the direct objects here, which is a second chance, or the indirect objects, the recipients of the direct objects, which is them, right? And of course, if we start with them, we'll try to turn it right back again to the subject pronoun they, right? Okay, so your attention here, them. I have to turn, right, to write they instead, right, of them. Or them here is an object pronoun, so that I should, because this is the beginning of my passive statement, I should start with the subject. So, the subject pronoun or the personal subject pronoun for them, right, is they. So let's start with the let's say with the first let's say objects pronoun here, which is the indirect objects. We say they, right? Okay, so them becomes they. If you have me, have given me, right? Me here, the subject pronoun is I. So you need to go back again to the lesson that you learned from maybe the first year or the second year of English language learning. Basically in the Common Core, you have learned about all the different pronouns, including the objects pronouns, including the possessive adjectives, the possessive objects, and all the stuff, right? So you need to go back again and revise that lesson. It's very important here, right? Okay, so we have here they. Here we go, right? This is the subjects, the objects. We choose here at first to start with the indirect objects. They, and then we have here remember number two, we have to put the verb to be, right? Or we have to put the as a third step, we have to put the verb to be in the tense of the active verb. We have here have given. What tense is it? Very good. This is present perfect. So we say here they have, right, they have been. And then of course given, here the verb to give should be kept in the past participle form. So we say they have been given. Very good. They have been given what? Now we complete our statement, right? A second chance. A second chance, right? Let's make a space here, right? They have been given a second chance, right? We have here we by us, right? It doesn't make any sense, so let's do without adding by us, right? Because here, as we said again, when the subject is not clear, well defined, not specified, right? So there is no need to add it, okay? There is no need to add by phrase here. Okay, so we say they have been given a second chance, and then we continue our statement to demonstrate their abilities. Full stop, right? Okay. Here we go, guys. Okay, so let's move on to the next statement, guys. Okay, number two, here we have the granted, we have another choice, as we said before, right? Now, remember that we have right now started with the indirect objects, them, right? Becomes right now in the subject's position, so we say they. Now, let's see another choice, another correct choice here. Let's start with the direct objects, which is a second chance. So in this case, if we start with the second objects, we are going just to follow the same, procedure with the one very simple change here. A second chance, right? Now we started with the second chance. Your attention. Second chance here has become right now subject to the subject of our statement. So we should bear in mind this subject-verb agreement. Okay, second chance here is singular, so I'm not going to say have. We say has, right? Has been, right? All right, let me color-grade this statement. Right? A second chance has been, plus always the past participle of the verb here, given, right? A second chance has been given. Now, the only change right now that occurs when we start with the With the direct objects, second chance here, the second objects is that we need to add this preposition to, has been given to whom, right? We say to them, right? Has been given to them. And then we complete our statement without any problem to demonstrate their abilities. You see right now, you understand, guys, how to start our statement with the first, indirect objects or the second direct objects, right? So we have these two ways, and both of them are, 100% correct and acceptable. Let's move to number 2, the case number 2, guys. They granted rural women more microcredits as a form of sports. Again, let's start with our first, step. We determine the basic parts of speech. This is the subjects again. Granted here is, as usual, right, the verb. And then granted rural women, right, this is what's very good, right? This is the indirect objects, the first objects. Given rural women what, right? Given them, right, more, or grant them, right, more microcredits. More microcredits here is the second objects, or what we call the direct objects, okay? So let's start our first statement right now. We have again two choices. In all the cases that we have here, we have two choices, right? We can say start our passive statement with either the direct objects or the indirect objects. As usual, we're going to start with the first objects, which is the indirect, which is the indirect objects. Rural women. Very good. Remember here your attention that the women here is plural, so we have to respect the changes at the level of the verb, right? So rural women, we have here granted. This is what tense is it, right? This is simple past, right? So we say rural women. The verb to be, we say were. Your attention, it's plural. We say were. If it's singular, one woman, right? We say was. But here it's plural. So we say rural women were plus the past participle of the verb that we have here, granted. It's a regular verb. So we say grant, granted, granted. Rural women were granted what? They were granted more micro credits. Your attention, we have to complete our statement, the meaning, right, by adding the direct objects directly, immediately after the verb. More were granted, right, more microcredits. No need to say by them, right? So them here, it's not, right? So it's not obvious. The subject is not obvious here, so there is no need to add it, right? We'll say as a form directly. We complete our statement as a form of sports. Here we go, right? Okay, now let's move on to the second choice. We have another choice right now, which is also correct, is to start with the direct objects. I would say here more micro credits. Okay. I'm sorry, great. I caught a flu, great. More micro credits, great. This is our direct objects, great. And your attention here, credits is plural too, so it's will remain as it is, great. Were granted. Were granted here, as we said before, we always need to add this to, right? When we start with the direct objects, we need to add to. Were granted to whom? Right? To rural women, right? And then we complete our statements as form of sports. Okay, you see, guys, how it goes right now. So more micro credits were granted to, or given to rural women as form of sports. Now let's see number 3, guys. My friend sent me an email yesterday morning. Again, as usual here, my friend, right? This is the subject of the statement. And then we have your sent, this is the verb. And then we have me, right? This is the indirect objects, guys, the first objects. And email, this is the second objects, or what we call the direct objects. Let's start again with me, right? I mean with the the indirect objects. As I said earlier, me, when it is brought to the first position of the subjects of the statement, it becomes I, right? So we see here I, and then we make the necessary changes again. Let's move on, let's see to the verb. We have here sent. This is the, what tense is it? Very good, right? This is simple past. So the verb to be should be put in simple past. So we say I was. With the subjects I, we say I was. Plus the past participle of the verb, we say sent. Send, send, sent, right? I was sent. Here we go, right? I was sent what? I was sent an email directly without adding to or anything like that, right? I was sent an email. Right? We have here my friend, right? Okay, so it's the subject here is specified, so we need to add the by phrase. We say by my friend, and then we come back and then we complete our statement with the adverb of time that we have here, right? What time? We say yesterday morning, right? Yesterday morning. Okay, guys, right? It's clear, right? Is it clear? All right, that's fine, right? Let's move on to the second choice right now, which is starting our passive statement with the direct objects. So which is an email, right? So we see here, sorry, an email. There we go. Now we need, again, as usual, the verb should be put in the past form. We have sent, so we say was sent, great. The verb to be in the past form. An email was sent, and then we have here me, so we need, as I said before, to add this preposition to, right? To me. An email was sent to me by my friend. Okay, yesterday morning, guys. Okay, here we go. Great. Let's move to number 4, guys. My teacher lent me an interesting book. He has given me a great book, to read, great, and then give it back to him, right? Okay, so my teacher again is the subject as usual, and then number 2, lent. This is the verb. Let's put it in green, right? And then me again is the first object, which is the indirect objects, and an interesting book. This is, great, the second objects or the direct objects. The book here together with the just an adjective, great, interesting. Now let's start again as usual with the indirect objects. We say me becomes I. So we say here lent. This is a verb in the simple past. So we say I was. And then the past participle of the verb lend, which is lent, guys. Okay, so we say I was lent. Oh, here we go, right? I was lent what? I was lent an interesting book. All right, and then we have my teacher, so we say by my teacher. I was lent an interesting book by my teacher. All right, very good. Okay, so there is no to here, great. But if we start with the direct objects, interesting book here, we should think of adding the word or the preposition to, right? So we see here an interesting book, great. The verb to be in the past as usual was, and then here lent, the past participle of the main verb was lent, and here we need to add to, right? We say to me. Was lent to me, right? Okay, we should highlight to, right, in all the cases that you have here so as not to forget to add this preposition. Okay, was lent to me, right, by my teacher. Okay, so it's the same agent here, right? Okay, the last case, guys, another example here, number 5. My father has bought me a new laptop. In an American way, we say has bought me directly, right? Okay, my father has bought me a new laptop, right? Okay, so here again, my father, right? This is the subjects. Alhamdulillah. And then we have here has bought. This is the verb combination. And then we have me, right? This is the indirect objects, and then a new laptop, this is second the singular objects or the direct objects, right? As usual, we start with me, which is the indirect object, so it becomes I. And then has both. What tense is it, guys? We need to put the verb to be in the same format, right? Or in the same form like has both. Very good, right? This is present perfect. Present perfect is formed by adding have or has plus the past participle of the verb, right? To the main verb. So we see here I, with the verb I, with the subjects I say have, right? We don't say has with he, she, it, right? The other 5 pronouns we say have, right? I have been plus the past participle of the verb to be. Okay, here we go, right? I have been plus the past participle of the verb. We say have. I have been bought, right? I have been bought, right? A new laptop, right? And then we add the agents by my father. We keep the agents at the end, right? I have been bought a new laptop by my father, right? Now what if we start with the direct objects right now, guys? We see here a new laptop. Right here we say new laptop. Your attention. A new laptop here is right. Is the it's a singular noun, right? Okay, so we are not going to say have, right? The corresponding personal or subject pronoun is it. So we see here it has. So we say a new laptop has been plus the participle of the verb as usual. A new laptop has been bought, and then we need to add to, right? To me. Okay, here we go, right? Has been bought to me. And then we add the by phrase by my father. Okay, guys, so this is it, right? A new laptop has been bought to me by my father, right? This is how we deal, guys, with the statements that contain verbs with two objects, direct objects and indirect objects. The indirect objects is the recipients of the direct objects, okay? So, guys, it's very simple. You have two choices when you are in facing such a case. You can either start with the direct objects, and here in this case, you have to add the preposition to me, to him, to them, or whatever, right? It depends on what you have in the statement. And if you start with the indirect objects, you don't have to add anything based on the cases that we have seen today. So I hope that you have learned a lot from this practice session, and meet you soon in another practice session, inshallah. Thank you very much, and goodbye.